Welcome to Literature Matters True Crime Chronicles, where we dissect the past and scrutinize it with a modern lens. Today, we revisit a tale shrouded in intrigue, betrayal, and bloodshed. This isn't just any tale, this is the case of Hamlet versus the state of Denmark. Over 500 years later, we're re-examining the chilling events chronicled by William Shakespeare. While history often hails Prince Hamlet as a tragic hero, modern forensics and a fresh perspective reveal him as something far darker. Hamlet is a mass murderer. I'm Gordon Shelley, and along with my co-host, Jennifer Noonan, we will closely examine the grisly crimes committed by the Prince of Denmark.
Let's begin with the evidence. Shakespeare's account, widely accepted as our primary source, was likely based on the testimony of Hamlet's close friend, Horatio. But how reliable was Horatio? And how much of Shakespeare's narrative is first-hand knowledge versus circumstantial evidence, or worse, outright hearsay? To unravel this mystery, we'll analyze Hamlet's actions, scrutinize the supposed ghost of old Hamlet, and delve into the prince's mental state of mind. Was he suffering from schizophrenia or another mental illness? Or was he simply using a concocted ghost story as a smokescreen for his bloody deeds?
First, the most infamous crime. The murder of Polonius, a royal advisor. Polonius' reputation for being nosy and verbose may have annoyed many, but he was undeniably loyal to the Danish court. Hamlet stabbed Polonius through a curtain, claiming he mistook him for King Claudius. However, modern forensic psychology raises doubts. Hamlet knew Polonius was prone to eavesdropping. We must ask, was this truly a mistake, or was it premeditated murder? Polonius' death was the first in a series of calculated moves. Removing Claudius' loyal advisor destabilized the court and set the stage for Hamlet's revenge. This wasn't an impulsive act. This was strategy.
I hardly know where to begin, but I will recount what I saw as truthfully as I can. It all began when Hamlet entered my chambers, wild with anger and grief. He was furious with me for marrying his uncle so soon after his father's death. He shouted, "Such an act that blurs the grace and blush of modesty, calls virtue hypocrite, and takes off the rose from the fair forehead of an innocent love." I was frightened by his intensity. I feared for my safety, though I tried to calm him. Then it happened. Hamlet turned sharply toward the curtain, drew his sword and struck, shouting, "How now? A rat?" The next moment, Polonius fell lifeless to the ground. When he saw Polonius's body, he showed no remorse. Instead, he said coldly, "Thou wretched, rash, intruding fool, farewell. I took thee for thy better." He thought the king was behind the curtain. What happened next terrified me even more. Hamlet began speaking to a ghost. His father's spirit, he said. His behavior was alarming. Since Hamlet returned to Denmark, his behavior has been odd, to say the least. He has been distant, brooding, and prone to violent outbursts. This murder has confirmed my deepest fears. My son is lost to something dark, and I don't know if he will ever return to himself. I only pray that we may find a way to prevent more bloodshed before it's too late.
Then there is the sinister betrayal of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, Hamlet's university friends. Initially delighted by their arrival, Hamlet's joy became venom when he discovered they were summoned by King Claudius and the Queen to spy on him. Hamlet accused them of carrying a letter ordering his execution. But here's the catch: there's no physical evidence of the letter. There is only Hamlet's word. Even if Rosencrantz and Guildenstern were unwitting pawns, Hamlet forged a new letter condemning them to death for treason. Modern ethics would classify this as first-degree murder by proxy. Two innocent men paid with their lives for Hamlet's paranoia.
Next, we examine the murder of Claudius. He is Hamlet's uncle and the newly crowned king. Claudius had just married Queen Gertrude. She is Hamlet's mother, and with his marriage to her, Claudius oversteps Hamlet and takes the throne for himself. This alone would be motive for Hamlet to kill Claudius. Hamlet's motive was clear. Claudius killed his father and took the throne. At least, this is what Hamlet claims. The ghost of old Hamlet was the sole source of this accusation, and only Hamlet spoke to it. This is questionable at best. Even if Claudius's guilt were real, the method of his execution is in question. There was poisoned wine and a rigged duel. This reeks of a plan. Was this premeditated murder? And if so, who is the one really responsible? We think the finger should be pointed at Hamlet. Was Claudius truly a murderer, Or was Hamlet using the ghost as justification for his own bid for power? Shakespeare paints the duel as Claudius's plan, but a deeper dive suggests Hamlet may have orchestrated events, ensuring a confrontation that would lead to Claudius's death.
Let us not forget about Ophelia. Hamlet's treatment of her was nothing short of psychological warfare. After their breakup, Hamlet verbally assaulted her, using cruel language and manipulative tactics. Was this heartbreak, or was Hamlet intentionally driving her to despair? Her death, ruled a suicide, raises suspicions. Drowning in knee-deep water? Alone with no witnesses? A quick burial followed, avoiding closer scrutiny. Did Hamlet and Horatio conspire to silence Ophelia? Her death conveniently provoked her brother, Laertes, into a duel Hamlet was prepared for, having honed his swordsmanship in advance. By killing Laertes, Hamlet effectively removes anyone else who would have an immediate claim to the throne.
I scarcely know where to begin, for the air still feels heavy with death. The duel between Hamlet and Laertes began with formality. The match commenced, and Hamlet fought with skill and grace. But the true horror unfolded quickly. In the heat of the fight, swords were exchanged. The two swordsmen struck one another with a poisoned blade. It was then Laertes confessed his guilt, crying out, "The treacherous instrument is in thy hand, unbaited and envenomed." In his dying breaths, he admitted the king's role in the plot. The queen, who had unwittingly drunk from the poisoned chalice meant for her son, collapsed before us. The sight of his mother dying pushed Hamlet to vengeance. He turned on the king, forcing him to drink the cursed wine and striking him with the poisoned blade. Turning to me, he implored, "But I do prophesy the election lights on Fortinbras. He has my dying voice." And with that, he breathed his last. I alone live to tell the tale, though I wish to follow my friend into death. I am left here amid the bodies of kings, queens, and noblemen, wondering how a kingdom can rise from such ashes.
Which brings us to Horatio. Often portrayed as Hamlet's loyal confidant, Horatio's role demands a second look. He was present at nearly every critical juncture, from the ghost's first appearance to the duel's bloody climax. Horatio was there. Could Horatio have been a co-conspirator, whispering in Hamlet's ear, pushing him toward violence? Consider this possibility. Horatio suggested Hamlet speak to the ghost. Horatio supported the duel. And at the end, it was Horatio who survived, tasked with telling the tale. By Horatio's account, this is a tale that painted Hamlet as a tragic hero while absolving himself of any wrongdoing. Convenient, isn't it?
Let's tally the body count. Polonius, Rosencrantz, Guildenstern, Claudius, Gertrude, Laertes, and possibly Ophelia. 7 deaths, each connected to Hamlet. And lurking in the shadows, Horatio, whose loyalty may have masked a darker agenda. Finally, we turn to Fortinbras. Hamlet admired the Norwegian prince, whose arrival in Denmark coincided with the royal family's collapse. Was Fortinbras merely a bystander, or was he Hamlet's silent ally, waiting to use his army to help Hamlet claim the throne? When all is said and done, it is Fortinbras who benefits the most from the ultimate outcome.
5 centuries later, we uncover a web of deception, manipulation, and murder. Hamlet, often seen as a tragic figure, emerges as a calculating killer. And Horatio, the grieving friend, reveals himself as an enigma, perhaps even the mastermind behind the chaos. Yes, something was rotten in the state of Denmark. But it wasn't just Claudius. It was Hamlet. And maybe, just maybe, it was Horatio all along. Thank you for joining us on Literature Matters True Crime Chronicles. Let us know your thoughts. Was Hamlet the true villain? Or was Horatio the puppet master? Until next time, stay curious, stay critical, and stay safe.